Hey, hey, you getting another one? You want another one? Sorry about the whiplash on the screen there. I was just trying to fix my cameras. Every time I start up my stream, I have to go through this like camera refresh process, and I don't understand it. Where I have to unplug my cameras and plug them back in, and then everything works great. And I could shut off the stream, shut down Streamlabs, start Streamlabs again, and then the problem's back. I don't know why it happens. But who's ready to build? We've got a pretty cool custom build here today. Got a lot of customizations included. So not just the build itself, but we also have a couple of cool customizations that was requested by Tristan. This build is for Tristan. He is a local customer, so he's going to be picking this one up, which is cool. So I'll get to meet him. But we're going to be building this massive beast today. Part of, or all the parts were picked out through the PC part picker list, I think, and then we ended up adding more customizations to it after the fact. I think that's how it worked out. But we went with a custom backplate, which I have over here, as well as a custom backplate, not just for the GPU, but also for the back of the case, which is a Lian Li 011 Dynamic Evo. We have a couple of cool backplates, as well as some glass etching. So we got the glass etched, and it was here. And that was the part that took the longest, I think, was getting the glass out, etched, and then back, as well as the artwork. And then everything else that happened in between that kind of held us up. That's what we did, yes. Thanks for the clarity. Everything that's been going on lately, it's just hard to remember everything. But okay, let's go ahead and get started. We'll run through the parts list here. Today we're building with an Intel Core i7. This is a 13700K, so this is a 13th gen processor. This processor actually has the 16 cores and 24 threads, so it's probably better than most of your i9s from 11th generation and younger, or older, I guess you should say. But this guy is a beast of a processor, packs a lot of punch. It is very expensive still today, but it packs a big punch. So great processor. We're also going to be using the contact plate that we always use for LGA 1700. This is by Thermalright. Again, I mention this all the time. If you're using a LGA 1700 CPU, especially with an i7 or higher, you want to make sure that that contact plate is in place, which helps with the cooler contact to the CPU. So I always recommend using those with LGA 1700. We have one of those to add to the board. Also, the thermal paste we specifically picked out was the Arctic MX6 thermal compound. This has got 4 grams in it, so there's plenty of paste in here that'll be included with the build, so if you ever have to repaste for some reason, later down the road you have paste that's extra. This usually keeps for a good couple of years, so should be fine as long as it's not under any major heat. The cooler we're using is a Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 360mm addressable RGB cooler. This one is a cooler that I always recommend because of the fact that it is, well, they have basically Cooler of the Year award in 2022, so it's actually a really good cooler. It actually does include MX5 thermal paste, but we went with MX6, which is a little bit newer. And what else? The motherboard we're installing everything onto here is the Asus ROG Strix Z790E Gaming Wi-Fi. So, Kev, you're probably familiar with that board. Same board. It's a solid board. I just got done working with that in your system. It was super easy to work with, and I really enjoyed it. So, it's a great all-around board. And then moving this around a lot, but this is a RTX 4070 Ti by Zotac. So this is the, I believe the Trinity OC. This is factory overclocked version of the 4070 Ti. So going back to the RAM, we have a T-Force Delta, and this is addressable RGB RAM by Team Group. This stuff is actually really cool. I've worked with it a couple of times, the DDR5 version, but overall I've always been super happy with this stuff. This is the Intel XMP certified kit. And then we are also going with a 2 terabyte 980 Pro by Samsung, which is a PCI 4.0 SSD. So really fast storage. Your read speeds are 7,000 megabits per second, which is super crazy. And then I do have, in case we need it, because I wasn't sure if this power supply, they didn't really define in the listing that this power supply was PCIe 5.0 compatible or not. But I believe this one is, or it at least comes with an adapter. I'm not sure. It's just not very clear. So I have a cable, one that I always purchase, especially for the newer cards. So we don't use those stock cables. I actually just throw those away because I don't use them. They're garbage. And then for the fans, in the 011 Dynamic Evo, we have Leon Lee Uni fans, which again, Kev, you're probably familiar with these. These are super awesome fans to work with. There's 2 cables that come off the stack of of fans that you plug into a hub, so it keeps cable management really nice and clean. And we have a total of 3, 6, 9 that we're going to be putting in the system. 3 of them are actually going to go on the cooler to keep the consistency of the fans throughout the system. And we're also going to take the fans that do come with the cooler and put them on the top, because we can afford to do push-pull on this cooler. In this case, we have the room to do it. So we will be doing push-pull on the radiator. So super cool, super excited. Power supply, I kind of touched on it a little bit, but this is the EVGA Supernova 1300 watt GT. That's a gold rated power supply, 80 plus gold. And has plenty of power for literally any graphics card you want to run in the system going forward, which is why we ended up going with that power supply. He can upgrade to an RTX 4090 and he won't have a problem. He won't have to upgrade his power supply. He's good to go. And probably any future graphics cards or anything he wants to add to his system, he'll never have a power supply problem or limitation. So great way to start it, because it's, you know, these power supplies are getting expensive today, and it's been making it kind of difficult to justify going into a 1300 watt power supply or a 1000 watt power supply. But if you look, an 850 watt power supply today is about 150 bucks right now. It's kind of stupid. And you can get 1000 watt power supplies for like 189 in the same rating. So you may as well just go to 1000 watts. And then you can, you know, depending on what version of that power supply you're getting, like Seasonic, they're a little bit more expensive. And EVGA, they're a little bit more expensive as well. They're like 220 bucks right now for 1000. But 1300 watts for like an extra 20 bucks, you can get 1300 watts. So may as well just do it. 20 or 30 or 40, I don't even remember anymore exactly. But we do have some sleeved cables we're going to throw in there as well. Keep the consistency of the style throughout the build. So awesome build that we're going to be doing here today. Super excited. It's been a long time coming, waiting for this. So super happy for you, Tristan. I'm stoked that we're going to be able to get this one done for you, finally. So you can enjoy it. I'll show you guys the glass and the panels a little bit more later, but we're just going to go ahead and jump into this and get started. And the reason why I have this out of the box is the box did show up damaged, and I just plugged it in and fired it up just to make sure it was good to go, just for awareness. Don't normally have them out of the box like that. But I just wanted to make sure there was no fans rattling or anything, because the box got damaged pretty badly. I wasn't very impressed with that, how it showed up. So here we go. I'm gonna jump into the motherboard and start working with the Z790. Dog has lost its mind. Yeah, it's been a while. Excited to see this come together. Finally. We're doing it. We're doing it, and this time it's for real. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is pop the CPU into the socket. That's your Intel i7 here. Comes in a wonderful, stylish cardboard box. Which we end up putting into the bin anyway. And we're going to lift our hammers here and drop this bad boy into the socket. Look at all those pins on that thing. Not sure if the camera's capturing it or not, but tons of gold pins there. And you have pins. These are flat pins. There's the actual pins are on the board here. So we're just going to drop this in. You can only go in one way, but I want to put that in there before we remove the brackets because I don't want a chance damaging the pins on the board. So the CPU is technically sitting there protecting the pins on the board while we work this. So this is the bracket that I was talking about. This is going to replace both these mechanisms here. What this does is it holds the CPU down kind of more evenly. There's no flexibility or flexing on the CPU itself. And it makes a more even contact for the cooler, which actually does probably 10 to 15% better cooling, I think, from my testing, and also Gamers Nexus did a little bit of testing on this as well. They did actually a lot more testing than I did. They have the equipment to look at this stuff, but it makes a big difference when you contact plate, and it's so cheap to add compared to like your CPU and your cooler and everything else. You may as well just do it. It's just a few extra steps. I am giving you the stock brackets, so if you ever have to use those again, you will have those. But the bracket just kind of goes over the CPU. You will have to remove this bracket if you ever had to remove or replace the CPU. Like if you go to upgrade. The tool that came in this kit is also going to be provided, so you can always access. It ensures that you have access to the CPU later. Sorry if I'm too far away from the mic and I got quiet. So what I'm going to do is just tighten these down. Getting them started, trying to do it as evenly as possible. There we go. And that's all there is to it. Again, the tool is going to be provided with the hardware. You'll have that in the future if you ever need it. But there's our LGA 1700 contact plate. All right, moving on to the RAM. This is again the T-Force Delta by Team Group, and this is the DDR5 or the D5 version, I think they call it. Addressable RGB. It's 6,000 megahertz, and 32 gigs total. The packaging has always been traditionally weirdly tricky to open, and I don't know why. There we go. We're just going to fill the one channel here. It's actually running dual channel. We're still, and I keep getting these comments on my YouTube videos about DDR5 questions. And mostly it's, hey, have we resolved or have they resolved the issues with the DDR5 RAM where you run 4 sticks and it doesn't work? The answer to that question is no, still. That has not been resolved. If you run 4 sticks, DDR5, most likely you're going to run into problems. At least that's where most of the DDR5 problems come into play, is when you're running 4 sticks. So avoid running 4 sticks if you can. If you do run 4 sticks, you just have to deal with manually setting up the timing, because the XMP or AMD Expo profiles don't like to work. Just keep that in mind. Alright, just getting all these peels off the motherboard. I think there's one more down here. There is. We don't like the smell of melting rubbery plastic, so try to avoid that. Alright, so we're moving on to the SSD. Get this bad boy popped in there. Alright. Gotta peel this thermal pad peel off. And these are just thermal pads that go on the top of the SSD. And all they do is help transfer the heat off the SSD onto this chunk of metal to help cool it. They also have one on this board on the inside as well, or bottom of the SSD. So, double thermal pad. So this is the Samsung 980 Pro. It's 2 terabytes total. It's Gen 4, PCIe Gen 4. Total of 7,000 megabits per second is what it can deliver. So, super fast SSD. I'd say they're probably one of the quickest drives out there today. And probably highest quality. Great. That went on very nicely. Alright, so next, we'll get the case out. I actually have the case already apart because we were tinkering with the glass and the panels earlier. You know what? We should probably get the mounting brackets on the board. CPU, I believe this one screwed down, so I'll be able to do that. I'll save us the trouble of having to do it later. So this is again the Arctic Freezer 2, which is an award-winning cooler. Highly recommend this cooler. If you've never thought about Arctic, these coolers are actually super badass. We went with a 420 millimeter back in our build with Judge Drudge on an Intel 13th generation Intel i9, and that thing did amazing for that i9. So had to be in a super big case, which kind of sucked, but was well worth it. bigger these CPUs get, the more it has to cool. The more work. Alright, so we've got this back plate, and this is where I get lost whenever I put these things together. These two, and then these screw onto the actual pump and clamp to that somehow. AMD. I'm gonna have to look this one up just to confirm what goes where. I know it's these, but there's a couple different ones here. I think 1700 is the taller one. There's taller studs and shorter studs, and I just don't want to put the wrong stud on here. And I can never, for the life of me, remember which one it is. So if you all remember in the chat, feel free to tell me. That's a lot of parts. Well, it's a kit, so it's a kit for multiple socket types. So you have AMD AM4 and AM5, which is pretty much the same socket. Hey Mern, what's up, man? But then you have LGA 1700, LGA 1200 and below, and then you have even AMD and their Threadripper socket, which I'm drawing a blank on right now, I don't know why. But the Threadripper socket, and then you have the Intel larger socket for some of their bigger CPUs as well. So there's like 8 different sockets that they're accommodating for in a hardware kit, which is kind of cool. The engineering in here is really cool. Once you figure it all out, it's like, oh, that's why, you know, really smart. So let me pull that up and just confirm which one of these studs it is. That's the only part that holds me up, is that stud. So what's up, Mern? How's it going? Finally relaxing after a nice long day. Yeah. How'd that surgery go? I saw that you posted it went well, but just asking. Went really well. Home and resting. Oh, that's good. Good to hear. I hope she recovers very quickly without any complications or anything. Yeah, my dad, way back when he was riding, we used to ride dirt bikes all the time, so he was getting older in his 40s, and that's kind of where I'm almost at right now, I guess, so I should shut up. But anyway, he was riding, and he slipped, his foot fell off the peg while turning, and his bike like rolled over a rock, so it bounced, and then his foot popped off the peg, and then the bike came down, and he had his foot down, but he, all the way to the bike, and him, of course, landed on that one heel, and he ended up shattering his heel. The reason why I'm saying this is because he was out, wasn't able to walk or do anything for like, I don't know, months. It was a long time. Then he finally got this little cart that he can kneel on, and he just wheeled around on the cart. But during that time before he got the cart, he was literally losing his mind, sitting in one spot, because our family were just super busy all the time. We just like to do things. I don't know why it's like that, but that's just us. We just go and go and go, and when we're just sitting down doing nothing, we just lose our minds. So it was hard to watch him just sit there. I just remember that when I was young. But no, they have these really cool like carts. I don't know if that's something you can maybe use, but really helped my dad get around when he was dealing with his heel, even though I know it's different surgery. Hey, what's up, Papa Goose? How's it going, man? We may get her one of those knee scooters. That's I couldn't remember even the term of it. Like the kneeling cart thing. I just remember stealing it from my dad when I was a kid and going down the hills and stuff because it was like super smooth. Yeah, we were terrible kids. So I'm just trying to double check these studs really quick. I'm not sure which one is actually used for LGA 1700. They have a short one, and then they have a taller one. And I can never remember which one it is. And then they don't really include instructions. So, and it's important because if you put the wrong height on here, it's either going to be too tight or not tall enough, or it's going to be too tall and have too much of a gap. They didn't really go into it too much. I think it's short ones. I don't think it's tall ones. They say it is the tall ones, so. Alright. Tall ones it is. I can't know everything. I try. Then you have to actually put these little rubber washers on here. Kind of cool. Kind of a cool design. Especially if you like to tinker with stuff and figure stuff out. So there are these little studs that go into this little hole here. And then you have this little rubber washer that goes over the top. Not sure how well you can see that actually, but give you an idea of what I'm doing. Then they want you to place these little sticker washer things on the top and the bottom of the holes. Before I do that, I'm going to confirm, and that is indeed the right size. Good. These things are to protect the itself, I think. That's all they want. Then we have the studs that we were trying to figure out that need to go on there next. So you hear what I'm doing. I just wanted to get a couple in there so the back plate didn't fall out. But we got these studs here that we need to add. I don't know if you can see them. These guys right here. That's what we're adding. These are just hand threaded in. You don't have to use a tool or anything to tighten them down. You really don't want to make them super tight. If they're super loose when you go to put the nut on, the thumb nut, it will probably spin till it is tight. So you want it snug nicely. We'll call it nicely hand tightened. We got all 4 of those installed, so we got the brackets good to go. And then I think one of the next pieces we have here, AMD. Yeah, this is AMD. That's it. The rest of it has to go on the cooler itself and is tightened down later. We'll move all this, and we'll move this aside and get the case out. We're ready to throw this in there. Oh. Again, I mentioned that I already had this opened up. Because we were already dealing with the glass. We already had it opened up. There's our 011 Dynamic Evo in black. So it's a great looking case. Lots of room to build in here. I really enjoy building in these cases. They're super high quality. I like to put the radiator in the top, though you can put the radiator on the side as well. I prefer it in the top. I think it looks better. I think it cools better because you're taking the heat of the CPU and just dumping it right out of the case, and then using the side as intake. So you have a total of total of 6 fans for intake rather than just the 3 on the bottom. I just like that a lot better. The intake, I think, is more important, and the heat being expelled just directly out the top kind of helps, so you don't have to expel as much air as quickly. I've had good results with configuration. I will continue to use it until somebody tells me not to, and explains why. Then they have a super fancy hardware kit that comes with the case that we are going to be using here to mount all the hardware into the case. So first thing first is the motherboard. So the motherboard already has a back panel I/O shield on there. All of our studs are in the right places, and these studs are very important to make sure you have them in place, because they are grounding points. And if you don't have them in the right place and they are touching the motherboard in the wrong place, then you will have different types of problems, such as you could actually damage your motherboard because it's grounding where it shouldn't be. But these points on the motherboard are specifically grounded so that you can screw it right down to the metal or touch the metal stud. They're mounting points. They're made for it. So there's going to be a total of 9 screws that we will use to mount the motherboard to the case. We got 3 done. Two left. One to go. How's everybody else's night going? We got the motherboard mounted, so that's good to go. So next, I think we're going to work on the cooler. We're going to get the cooler top mounted, but before I do that, I actually want to get some of these cables in there that are on the top, because it becomes a little bit more difficult to get your fingers in there once you have the cables or the cooler up there. So I am going to try to get the PWM fan header for the CPU and the ARGB header filled, as well as the EPS cables for the power to the CPU done before we put the cooler in. I'm going to just do that right now. So these are black cables. These are 4 pin times 2, so they're 8 pin EPS or CPU power cables, whichever you want to call them. People usually call them EPS cables, but they are what powers the CPU, provides power to the CPU. These are extensions, so it makes it super easy because we could just go ahead and throw those in there right now and not have to deal with opening up the power supply and getting any of their cables out, which you could because it's a modular power supply. But these sleeve cables just look a lot nicer, so it adds a little touch to the PC aesthetically. Again, we're taking care of this because the cooler is going to be really thick and beefy. And it's going to become difficult to get our fingers up in here. Alright, so we're going to move on to the next. There's 2 cables up here. That's one of 2. Get the next one done. I'm installing these cable combs. These cable combs kind of just help keep the cables in a unified formation. It just looks a lot nicer. So, purely aesthetics. We got 2 of them on there. Kind of holds them in place, very nice and neat like. And then I'm going to add this one on the back side, which gives it a little bit of flavor, holds it stiff, so that the 2 cables are looking super unified, or uniformed. No. So it'll come up like this. The cooler's going to be right here, and then it's just going to kind of wrap around the back side of the cooler there and towards the back. It'll look nice and smooth. Super smooth. And we'll straighten it out a little bit once we get the cooler in there, so it's not going to look as bulgy like that. Alright, so next I want cables that would have came with the cooler, which are actually on the cooler. I forgot about that. So those will have to go in after we get the cooler on there, which is no big deal. It's just going to be really hard to get in there. So I guess next we want to strip these fans off the front side of the cooler, move them to the back. Sorry, I bumped you. So to get started, we're just going to take these screws off. We're going to do a push-pull. I think I have a bunch of screws over there for this. But we want the uniformed fans on the front side, because these ones are going to be actually very unnoticeable, the RGB on them. Really, the only way you're going to see them is through the mesh panel on the top of the case, and it's just going to produce a little bit of light there, which, you know, it looks cool on the top of the case, but you won't notice that they're actually different fans at all. It'll be hard to notice anyway. So these ones we actually have to install very awkwardly. is the best way to put it. Because we're going to do push-pull. So, kind of an awkward position to install these. Alright, so we'll set these aside, and we'll get a set of the Lian Li Uni Fan AL120s. Get these out. What happened to my, okay. Beautiful fans, by the way. Super sleek fans. I really like these ones. These ones are awesome to work with. Don't think I've ever had a complaint for these. I think maybe my only complaint is they don't really, like, the way they did the hub, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but I wish they would have done like one cable instead of two. But I know why they did that. No, I don't. I still don't understand why I did that. It's going great getting to see this beast come together. Oh yeah, it's coming together. Coming together. I guess one of the main qualities of these AL120s, and that goes for most Lian Li fans, unless they're the SLs, which are not daisy chained. But one of the qualities, or main qualities, is the fact that you can stack these. So, for example, we're going to take this one and just slide it in, make it one fan. There's actual pins on the bottom and top of these that connect them. So, super cool design. Make it one fan, so you only have one set of cables coming off of all three of these, and which is this guy. That goes to the hub. Alright. Now, if I remember correctly, this was a pain in the butt because of long time no see. What's going up, TP man? Has been a long time. And what possibly could have changed? I know why. Alright, so we got the fans, the Leon Lee fans installed. One tricky dinky thing we need to call out is the fact that these cables need to be pushed this way. Alright. So now we're going to try to get this in the case. It's going to be very tricky. Actually, no, I forgot. This thing actually has a bracket, and I always forget that. So this is actually a bracket that comes off. We're going to be using that to get the other other three fans installed here. Makes it a lot easier. Thank goodness. There's really just the 2 screws that holds this bracket on, so that's it. I need to use my brain here. How does this work? Like that. Downside to using super short daisy chain cables when you're trying to do push-pull is that it's not going to fit perfectly. At least not perfectly the way you would want it, but we'll make it work. There we go. Got it all plugged in. Just snip that zip tie that's on there. Just gonna be dangling there doing nothing anyway. Alright. Get these bad boys screwed in. With the bracket, of course. This is where I was going to say it's going to get tricky, is that you have to put the screw that mounts this fan into this radiator on the mounting mechanism of the case in order to mount the case or the radiator to the case. And this thing is super nice because it has the bracket. Makes it easy. Class is kicking me around, but I'm still alive for now. Nice. Yeah, watching the reviews of the latest processor has me still happy with your 7950X. Oh, for sure. Yeah, that thing, you'll be super happy with it for a long time. Wasn't quite impressed with the 3D cache 7000 series. Like, they made it so that the Ryzen 7 5800X 3D is still a very capable processor. There's not enough performance gain to justify spending the extra money on the 7000 series. I mean, there is a gain nonetheless, but it just doesn't make sense to do it, you know? So, kind of confused on AMD's end as to why they did it like that. Would have liked to see better. But it is what it is at this point. Alright, so for the cooler, we got this massive fan radiator sandwich going. So, main thing that I got to do is make sure that these cables end up in these holes. Hey. Go on, get in there, son. I need to pull this out. Just too much to deal with. Alright. And we're gonna get this thing hopefully slid in here. It's thick. Here's my problem. Holy crap. Actually, right up on the motherboard. I think I need to rethink my approach here. Did not expect it to be this thick and tight with the board. Really the board that's kind of causing the problem right now. That piece. Can't really tight. It's a tight fit, that's all. Get it in there. I've gotten these in there before. Don't know what the hell is kind of holding me up here. I think it's the cables, honestly. That's what's holding me up. Oh, it's the actual. The only difference is that I've not done it with this board. This is interesting. Might actually have to vertically mount this bad boy. Not what I wanted to do. Not what I had in mind. Or we gotta eliminate the 3 fans on the top. Because it's just too thick for the board. The board's too thick. It's actually rubbing up on it. So, I don't think I'm going to be able to get this in. I mean, I could. Actually, could. Maybe. No, yeah, I should be able to get it in. I just need to pull the board out to do it. That's the only way this is going to get in there. And then put the board in. So, possible. It's just thick. But you can probably see here the situation that I'm in. It's not these cables here. It's literally the corner of the motherboard here that we're touching. So, the only way I can really get this in there is because it needs to be like right here. I guess I could, let me try. Let me try sliding this down a little bit because there's some room there. Move it forward a little bit. Didn't think of that until now. Duh. We can slide this bracket down more to give us more space there. It just pushes the cooler closer to the front of the case, which is fine. I actually don't have a problem with that at all. That'll give us the clearance we need. A lot of the X3D is scheduling and core swapping issues. Yes, that's what I didn't like about it, is you're sacrificing a lot of cores for the 3D cache, which is dumb. And then, yeah, there's been a lot of weird issues with them. Personally, I have not tried any of those 7000 3D caches yet, or 3D Vcache CPUs yet. I saw the reviews and I was like, eh, not worth it for me to invest in looking at it right now. I got other things to do. Bigger, cooler things, like building PCs. All right. Take 2. Cooler installation. If it fits, it ships. By golly, it fits. Duh. I'm glad somebody here is smart, not me. Why don't you just move the bracket down? All right. So that thick bad boy's on there. What do you think? What do you think of your radiator fan sandwich? Looking snazzy? Yeah. Snazzy. Define snazzy. Nice. Whoa! Somebody actually used the sound bit. Kind of shocking. I'm just adding the brackets now to the cooler, or the block, which is going to go on top of the CPU. We need to apply that thermal paste still. We're using Arctic 5. Arctic 6, excuse me. There we go, we got our brackets added. Some pretty brackets going. Arctic 6. The MX6. Oh boy. We're going to go with probably the X pattern here. Right on. And now we're going to slap this bad boy on there and call it a day. What is going on? Oh. Stop fighting me, dude. This motherboard makes it a tight fit for this cooler. I guess that's like the only bit of feedback I have here is tight. They did not leave much space here for the cooler. Asus. Anywhere, for that matter. I guess that's why motherboards are like $500 now for a decent one. All the extra metal you have to pay for. I mean, the VRMs on this thing is pretty badass, but I remember older boards back in the day that were just as nice, same caliber, older technology, same caliber, that were not $500. Alright, so this is what I was talking about earlier. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get your fingers up in here. I've got an RGB connection and a CPU fan connection to get plugged in here. So you might have my head in the way as I try to get these plugged in, because it's going to be a pain. Come on. Fat fingers, tight places do not mix well. In some cases. Alright, one done. The next one is going to be even a bigger pain in the butt. Holy smokes. If I could just twist my arm this way. Kind of guide it in. Really wish I had my surgical pliers right now. But I broke them. And haven't bought new ones. Because I'm silly. Got it. Finally. Some action. Alright, so we got those in. I'm just going to try to run these cables up here and stuff them into the cable hiding spots. I might swing back around and tie these a little bit. Oh gosh. Here we go. Dash. Steady. Don't fight me. Alright, we're standing up. Fine. Did I get rid of it? I didn't do anything. Did nothing.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything. Honestly, I didn't do anything. Building stuff. Haven't touched the internet. But it's working? What do you mean it's not working? So it was working and then it stopped working? I'm so confused. So it was working, or it wasn't working, then it started working, and then it stopped working. Try rebooting again. We'll shut it down and turn it back on. How that? I know it's the Wi-Fi that's causing the problem. See funny button. I hit funny button. My friends are lucky I haven't found a soundboard program like that yet. Oh, they're out there. They're actually really easy to use too. Back when you could get a postcode reader on a mid-range board. Exactly. You must have watched the NZX or the Gamers Nexus video, because he complained about that. Very much so. I think that was his biggest complaint. And then he just didn't let it go. But yeah, I think when you're spending, $200 on a board, it should definitely have one. I totally agree with him. The cheap feature should be added. Helps us a lot when we're building and troubleshooting things. Kind of dumb not to have it. When it's like pennies. In the grand scheme of things, anyway. Per board. I will give them the extra, like, $1 or $2 that it takes to put it on there. Oh dear. There we go. Nice and neat. Alright, so what's next? We doing more fans or what? Do we really need more fans in this case? Yes, you do. There's never enough. So, more fans. We're going to do 3 here as intake and 3 on the bottom as intake. This is actually going to become a back panel. We're not going to put a fan up here. Don't yell at me. And yeah, we can get some of these cables plugged in. Slap the graphics card in there. Do the power supply. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. I think, right? Yeah. I'm going to stand this bad boy up for this one. I'm going to tackle the bottom one here. It's usually just easier to do it this way. Stand it up. Pull the bracket out. And I'm going to get the fans out. These are going to be intake. They're going to be taking it in. So there's actually a long story behind why I have a whole bunch of these singles and not another 3-pack. Short answer is, thankfully, they have a bundle on these, or abundance of these. But short answer is because I ordered them and I thought I was ordering 3-pack. I was like, holy crap. I ordered them. They got here and I was like, huh. I ordered more. Realized my mistake. Ordered singles instead of the triple pack. Oops. Guess it happens to the best of us. I guess I want it like that. I want the cables on that side. Alright, so then now we have just a bunch of screws to put in here. There can never be too many airflow. There's no such thing as too much airflow. I agree with that statement. This is the way. You'll catch my drift. Yeah. More zip ties. I am a zip tie fanatic. I like zip ties. I like zip ties. Who doesn't like a good zip tie? Just keeps things clean, you know? Super clean. Alright, starting to look like a gaming PC or what? Now we're going to install these last 3 fans here. They're going to be mounted here. They're going to be intake as well. Then we're done with the fans. Holy smokes. Can't believe we'll actually be done with the fans. These are going to be intake. Just talking myself through it because, you know, Their intake process. Just wanted to scare you for a moment there. That I was going to put them in wrong. If anybody even caught that. Must be in the box. Uh-huh. So it is in the box. Those sneaky little screws. Hmm. Well, that's cool. Just flies open like that. Pretty sure I'm missing one. But I have more sitting here, so the hell with it. It's gone. These are just screws. No big deal. All right, screw time. Hell, it's story time. Let's just go straight to screw time. I like to put as many screws in as I can. It helps minimize the vibrations. Each one of these points where you screw at a screw is actually got the rubber pad on it, so it helps cut down on the vibrations. So I'm not just going bonkers. I could just go with 4 screws here and call it a day, but this helps with vibrations. So you don't want any slapping, rattling sounds on a super fancy PC like this. And it doesn't take much just to put the screws in. And there's no excuse for the vibration at that point. That is that. Alright, so next we should probably undo this bundle of wire, bundle of wire, and start threading them through where they need to go. It's looking good, man. Be a lot of color and flow radiating out of this beast. So I know you could definitely sit there and save money on the tanning booth and probably just sit in front of your computer and get an RGB tan. If you have not experienced an RGB tan yet, then you don't know what you're missing. Sometimes I forgot that my case was unusual, seeing these cables management zones that you could park a bus in. Yes, your case was very different. Very different. Different indeed, but in a good way. It wasn't a bad different. It was different. That is all. Alright. HD audio. We're going to run this guy through here. Through there. I'm actually sticking my hand back down underneath to grab this cable. USB-C, USB 3, I believe, is like right here. If my memory serves me correctly, which it never does. Does never serve me well. At least anymore. But I was right. Hey, Ben's got one on the board. So there's our front panel USB-C. And then this one is going to be our front panel USB 3. Thank you, thank you. My memory's ego now, thanks. I'm worried. Alright, so that was our front panel power button and LED for our read-write activity on your drive, etc. And power LED. And this one is our HD audio that we did in the bottom corner. So front panel 3.0, USB 3.0, front panel USB-C, front panel power button, and front panel HD audio. Done. Look at that. Easy peasy. All right, so next, we've got a couple of connections here for this hub. So I want to give you the option to either use the ASUS software to sync all the RGB or run the fans, or you can use the Lian Li LAN L Connect 3. Blah, 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 blah. The Lian Li LAN blah, blah. Too many L's in there. So this cable here will help me achieve that little wanky dink thing. Oh. This cable was retrieved from the hub for the Lian Li fans. It goes through here. And this one, I'm going to run here. Maybe. My fat fingers fit. There we go. Right, good. So this is just an addressable, 3-pin addressable RGB 5-volt header connection, which is located down here at the bottom of the board. If my head's in the way, I'm sorry. These things are a little tricky to get on there the first time. Kind of like a USB connection. You got to plug it in 18 times, and then you do it the same way you did it the first time, and it worked. It's like, what? And then we have a PWM header for the fans. That way the motherboard can tell the fans to spin at whatever speed that you want to tell them to. Or let the AI run it. But don't worry. This is not Skynet. Skytech. Skynet. Which one is it? And I guess we could do the 24 pin. Just trying to get as much done as we can here. Because we're making pretty good progress, I think. It's actually not a bad build when it comes down to like how long it takes. I was thinking like probably around 3 hours-ish total. So I was definitely trying to get started as early as possible today, and I kind of got hung up. So sorry about that, Tristan. I got a little hung up on some last-minute stuff that I said I could do, that I thought was going to take like 15 minutes, and ended up taking way longer, so. Like, yeah, I could do that. I could squeeze it in. No problem. So thank you for continuing to be flexible with me. I owe you probably a case of beer by now. Right. So now I'm just putting the cable combs here on the 24 pin, which is that big cable for the motherboard. And this is what powers the motherboard. And these cable combs, just like the CPU EPS cables, it keeps them nice and in suit. So very clean looking. That's the secret. The fancy cables and PCs is the cable combs. They do all the work. Super cheap to add, but super fancy looking. So, well worth the extra pennies. These cables in general aren't very expensive at all, and I try to push, or I try to get them in every single system, because it adds just a super nice, clean flavor to the build. Really like it. I don't like doing builds without them now. I'm gonna try to stick with these cables. See what I mean here in a second. Waited. Looks so much cleaner. Look at that. Super clean. So clean. Love it. Even if they're black cables, them just being sleeved, they're a little shiny. So the RGB is kind of going to reflect off of them a little bit, as well as just how clean and suited they are. Just perfect. It's all good. That's the way it seems to go these days. Yeah, I try. Yeah, this last month or two has been just an extreme roller coaster. You know what? Since like November, it's just been an insane roller coaster. Like in November, back when this insanity started, which is not insanity. It's nothing I'm complaining about. It's just really hard to predict how many PCs you're building. You just can't predict it because you just don't know who's going to come in and say, hey, I want a PC. So it's sales that's really hard to predict. I can, push marketing and kind of get a rough estimate idea of what my return will be in marketing just based off of metrics and data that's out there, but it's never accurate. So it's through November all the way up until like this last couple of weeks, or this last week, it's just been insanely busy, where it's like I'll get like 10 builds in one day that it need to be that land. So I'll have 10 builds all in one day land, and then I'm trying to stagger them out through the week to get them all done. And I'm not like a cookie cutter builder where I'm going to sit here and just pound these out. And I really take the time and focus on making sure everything's done right, clean, and and then also we go through a pretty sophisticated, time-consuming, battle-tested phase that I like to run on every PC to make sure it's running and cooling where it should be. And also, it's helped me root out some lemon parts during the process. So, graphics card can be bad out of the box, but they'll post and they'll let you install Windows, and then as soon as you start running something heavy on it, it'll start giving you problems if it's a lemon. So it's always important for me to go through those extra steps to make sure I'm delivering you the best possible quality product in my control so that you have the best experience. The worst thing I can think of is delivering a PC to somebody and then it not work. That is just, I don't want to do that. So I always try to be perfect. And I guess that's probably my biggest problem is being too perfect, or trying to be too perfect. Not that I'm always perfect. But it does slow me down. So. And then I got my brothers that come in and help me every now and then when it gets really bad. I'm like just slammed beyond slammed. To the point where I need the help and the hands. They'll come in and help me every now and then too when it gets really bad. Be like Gundor lighting the flame. Gundor calls for aid. It's actually the joke. The chat. I just post that GIF. So this here is the back panel that's going to go on the back of the case. There is some magnetic studs that we have to add to it, and then we can plug it in. But I do need a addressable RGB extension for this, because it's not going to be able to reach where I need it to go. And I'm thinking I probably should have installed this first. Sure. But it's okay. Love doing these types of things. This one might be a little excessive. We only need 2. Thought I had another one in here, and I guess. Oh, we got one. One better one. I think it'll fit it better. Yes. What this is an addressable RGB 3-pin 5-volt splitter that I'm technically using it as an extension cable, but we do need it to split because we also have the back panel for the graphics card. We need 2 connections off of 1. And then you'll have 1 spare one on the back if you ever add any more RGB stuff to the PC. Come on. Gotta play. Plug in the 3-pin adapter. I don't know why they haven't simplified this yet. This should be easier. Doesn't feel right. I think it's on there. Guess we'll find out when we fire it up. Quality over quantity is always the best. My school got 12 really expensive Alienware PCs because they're in bed with Dell. And apparently they do alright, but the reviews I've seen has me expecting them to be thermal throttle half the time. Yes, that is correct. Actually, Gamers Nexus, going back to them, seem to like them a lot because they speak nothing but the truth, and that is the way. And they call big companies out like that because they are a monster YouTube channel that has the ability to flex like that. So, but they did a review on Alienware's PCs, Dell Alienware PCs, and that is correct. The CPU does get thermal throttled right out of the box. It's just built. I think it's like a BIOS in the firmware, so it's a hardware firmware setting that is throttling it, and it's not even like a thermal throttle. It's an actual, just straight up, the hardware is throttling it, period. And there's no way to fix that. So it's hard locked. You can't change it. And a lot of people actually mistake it as thermal throttling because it just, they just run hot in general. So they think it's thermal throttling, but in reality, it is actually not thermal throttling, and unfortunately, it's worse. It's actually hard-coded to throttle that way. Sadly enough. Alright, I'm going to send this bad boy through, and hopefully receive it on the other end. Get my hand up in there. Into the abyss we go. There we are. Now, we can work on getting the magnets on here. Then, we can actually work on getting it installed. This is a little package that B1 Tech will give you. And these packages are just little double-sided tapes with a bag of magnets. And so then you put the tape on here, put the magnet on the tape, double-sided tape, and then it just magnetizes itself to the back of the case. And we call it a day. So it's very simple to install these. Just takes a little bit of extra time, that's all. I'm going to get these added here. Then we'll work to remove them. Trying to get these in a position so that they're not blocking the RGB strip. Now this is the stupid part, is that peeling these things off could be a pain. And they like to stick to your finger. So after you peel the sticky part, we're just going to stick a magnet to it. That's the magic behind mounting one of these. Honestly, that's it. But B1 Tech did a really good job on these. I was super happy with them. Super happy. I grew up with jazz around a lot, so I ended up kind of catching a little bit of a thing for jazz. I enjoy it. If you guys want me to change the music, just let me know. This isn't like full jazz. This is just like a hybrid. Hybrid version of it, I guess you can call it. They look awesome. Can't wait to see the RGB in them. Yep, so you can see the black here on this side versus the light, or the white color here. The white color is supposed to be where the RGB is going to emit, I mean, it's not going to be able to block all of it in the black. Not perfect, but it is super cool. Still, it's kind of a cool look to it, so definitely well worth it. Alright, now that we got the magnets added, I'm going to try to get this thing in here. We got to fight the cables as well. Go. Fuse installed. Cooler kind of hides the top of it a little bit. So, of course, like if you wanted me to, I could actually like cut the bottom of it and pull it down a little. Just plexiglass. It's all it is. It is kind of hiding the top of it, so it's cutting like this portion off. Usually we don't have as big of a cooler in this case by design. So that is a flaw on my end. The thought of that. We kept the jellyfish down further. I added it. If you need me to, I can cut the panel. Let me know. I'll send you some pictures and talk about it tomorrow, or see what you think. Won't take much to do that. So, I think I would like it better if it was further down. What do you think? See how it cuts off the top of that jellyfish because of the cooler here? I mean, you could see it if you're looking on the side. So it kind of looks like it's there for sure. So it's not like fully blocked, but if you're looking from the front of the PC, you can see that it's blocked. So just let me know what you think. If you want me to cut it, I can lower it. I would just cut the bottom off here and lower it. Yeah, we'll see what it looks like, but possibly trim. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. About an inch. Did not think of that portion. The cooler being that big. That is my bad. In the past designs that I've done, usually I'm matching this bottom portion and then going up, and really the top of the panel never was a problem because there wasn't anything specifically designed there outside of some RGB lighting and like the tail end of the design, so it was never a problem. This one, like the key piece of it is towards the top. I just completely didn't think of that. So we need to cut it. All it is just peeling up the RGB, giving it a cut with a fine blade so it doesn't ruin the print on it, and then putting it back in there, trimming the RGB strip. So definitely something we could correct. So not permanent. We'll see what it looks like. All right, so next is the graphics card. Actually, let's get this in there. Then we'll do the back panel for the graphics card. Then, wait, not that one. Then we'll do the power supply. Do some cable management. Deal with the fan hub. Then we fire this bad boy up. So we're doing pretty good on time. What are we, 2 hours in? Not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. But here's our RTX 4070 Ti. It's the Trio. It's got the 3 fans, and it's actually factory overclocked. So it's the Trio OC is what they call it. This is by Zotac. Kind of got that submarine-ish underwater look to it, being rounded everywhere, which is why I picked this card. And then the silver finish on the side also goes very well with the rest of the build. And then I do have a question for you, actually, in regards to the cable. Would you want this cable over the top? So it would kind of go like this. I mean, it gets run to the back, so these cables over here won't be here. But it would run like this, and then over the top, and then in. Or would you like it down below, where it runs from here down below? Like that. I don't know if you can see it or not very well. Preferably, in this case, I like to run it down below. Just because, especially with the back plate that's up here, that's what I would recommend. Keep the cable off the back plate. I agree, it looks more clean with the cable going under. So down and under it is. Gotta feed it. Feed it in there. There we are. Did I feed it? Oh, you gotta be kidding. Oops. Just fed it wrong direction, that's all. Not backwards, just upside down. There we go. And then these cables don't like to twist, so if you start twisting them, and you don't grab the other end and twist it with it, it gets all kinky. Nobody likes a kinky cable. There we go. Looking super clean. Now we'll get that back plate on there. Let's see. I'm going to use a big block of foam here to kind of give this a nice angle. You can kind of see what I'm going to be doing while I'm also working with it. Yeah? Yeah. Back panel. This thing, same design. We're going to have the magnets on the bottom, but it just slides in here. It is also going to be a very tight fit with the motherboard itself on there. You got all these big pieces in the back, so it's going to have a little bit of a lip to it, but it's not bad. Once again, the motherboard got us again. But it's not bad. Alright. I've had actually way worse. As long as it's not blocking any of the ventilation, which it's not, then we are good. The only difficult piece is that this is aluminum backplate that's on the card. Magnets don't like to sit on aluminum. So you have to target the little studs on the card. I like to put those on there. Then position the back plate and push it down. So I kind of do it in reverse. So, slightly different technique. I call this the retro gamer song. This reminds me of a retro gamer. Retro game. Alright, just a couple more. Alright, and then the key piece here is to try and get this lined up down without sticking a magnet until you're happy with the position. Like that. Perfect. Then it's magnetic at this point, so if you ever need to remove it, you can, and it's just magnetic. It's not a permanent thing. You can pull it off and sell the card, upgrade, whatever you want to do. Super cool. There we go. Looks good. Alright, so the next piece we have to do now is do some cables in the back and get the power supply installed. So, we're going to flip this thing around like so and look at the big mess that we have in the back, which is actually terrible. So, not bad at all. Had way worse. Oh yeah, that's that RGB strip. I'm glad I actually got the 3 done because we do need it. Forgot about that. This guy actually just came undone. Nice. Use it. I'm just going to use the other one because this one apparently I cannot connect for the life of me. Not sure why. Just difficult. I'm just going to use the other cable. Where'd my little things go? Whatever. Deal with it later. Important thing to note here is cable length. Starting to wonder if I should split off the top. I think I should. I'm going to do that. I'm going to split off the top for the top one so we don't have to run that cable all the way back down. Kind of just doesn't make sense to do that. It just means a little bit extra work for me. With this RGB connection, I was going to try to run down here for the bottom connection, and instead I'm just going to plug it in up here at the top one. A little bit. Oh. It might reach. I don't like it. I'm gonna run it. Stop. Split it up there. It's not gonna be an easy access position. Kind of a good thing I did this, because this actually pulled out anyway. Fine. All I'm doing is adding a little bit of a double two-way split here, and then making it so that this connection can plug into both the cooler and that back plate. A little tricky getting this in there. Oh. It definitely doesn't help that this seems to be kind of, didn't seem to be a little bit off. I really wish I had my surgical pliers. That would be super handy right now. It's always the small things that hold you up. So I'm gonna actually pull the ram if I can get in there. I just can't get in there. Can't get in there well enough. What I'm doing. Because you think you got it. Like, right. we go. Finally. I think we got it. All right. Nothing to it, right? And we still have to fix the bottom one too. I decided just to let go and say goodbye. The ram's back in place. The ram's back in town. Once again, surgical pliers would be super useful in this situation. Okay, we got it on the first try. Amazing, right? Okay. There we go. We got our cables all situated. Finally. With the bottom RGB, we got this dude and this dude. Which we need pins for to complete the connection. I'm putting these little pins on them. That way we can connect a female to a male to a female connection. That makes any sense. I try not to ask too many questions there. There we go. That is all of our RGBs. Yay! All of our RGBs are done. Minus the main bulk of the fans. There's one remaining piece. Still open-ended. Ah, I forgot. Hey! Hopefully shouldn't have to upgrade for quite a while. Ha! Yeah. Hey, Ben. Hey, I got swords. What's up, man? How's it going? Did you see my comments on the kick side? Shoot. Yes, but they're not on my main screen here. They're on another screen. Because for some reason, my comments do not show up in my multi-stream chat, and I need to figure out why. Still haven't spoke to the right person that told me the magic formula to fix that. But there's a magic formula somewhere out there for it. Hope you have a good rest of your stream. Thanks, man. I don't know if you're still hanging out, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for stopping in and saying hi. I'm talking about Kick, by the way. Kick is the one where the comments are not showing up where they should be. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong or what I need to do to solve it. I'll eventually figure it out. One day. And once I do figure it out, I will let everybody know what I did to figure it out. I'm sure I'm not the only person with a super crazy multi-stream setup. This is the Leon Lee hub for all of those fans that were currently plugging in. I forgot one thing about this hub, and that there is USB 2.0 connection, and that's how the L-Connect software communicates to the hub, that USB connection. But that's not a big deal. Gotta get it routed down here, then plug it in when we flip it back over. Don't let me forget that one. That's position. Any more zip ties being used here soon? In the near future. But before I get there, actually, yeah, before I get there, try clean this up a bit. Hub is just, I guess that's my only cable's just long enough to I guess as long as I have it above that power supply area. Yeah. Alright, so got this one for the SATA connection for the front of the case, and then there's one more cable for the hub, which is power to the hub. Do not want to forget. Throw that one up there. And we got two cables up here we have to get plugged in, one here, and these four for the graphics card, power supply, and then the two SATA connections. Alright, power supply time. Actually, before I move on to that, I just want to make sure I remember plug this hub in. And I really miss my surgical pliers. I'm gonna have to go find some. They're super long, skinny surgical pliers that are super useful for these super tight situations. Good, good. Thing looks like it's behaving on this side, so I'm happy with that. Oh yeah, there is actually a bracket. Play around with that later. Flip her back over. Power supply time for real this time. Don't know if I could have added anything else to give you more wire. Actually, this one isn't as bad or like even close to the worst one I've ever done. I think the worst build I've ever had when it came to like the pure amount of cables that I had to deal with was the pretty much all Corsair build that I did for Judge Drudge. He's a big Corsair fan, so I can't knock him from that. It's a great brand. Just the amount of cable that come from Corsair products is absolutely ridiculous. I absolutely hate it. I hate that many cables. It was just, I think I spent like a good hour and a half doing cable management alone on that build. How many cables there were. It was just ridiculous. And normally, it's not that bad. It's just Corsair is just, you've got at least 2 cables for each fan. Not, you know, hey, it's nice and neat and you got this whole daisy chain thing going. No, it's 2 cables per fan, and they all have to go to a hub. And then each of those fans then have to go back to a USB port with its own power connection. So there's like multiple, and then there's like other cables to daisy chain other hubs where you can actually do that, which saves USB ports. But I mean, just the amount of cables there were just, it was insane. And he had 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 fans in his PC. So there was almost 30 cables alone from just the fans, not including the hubs, other pieces like that. So definitely nowhere near the worst I've ever built when it comes to cables anyway. That one was a challenge. it tested my patience. I remember when I quoted this thing, that was like the number one thing that ran through my mind was how many cables I was going to have to deal with during that build. I was going to die. I thought I was going to anyway. These EVGA power supplies are just, man, if they leave the market, I'm done PC building. They've already left the market with graphics cards, but if they leave the market with the power supplies too, I'm just done. It's a joke, of course, but sarcastically, I'm done. I will miss their power supplies if they ever leave the market. They're nice. They are super nice power supplies. Got that fresh power supply smell. Kind of like that new car smell. Got a connection. All right. So there's our EVGA. Let me give you it right side up. EVGA Supernova 1300 GT, which is 80 plus gold, 1300 watts. Beautiful power supply. Fans on the backside, which we are going to have facing up, because the ventilation is on the back panel for the power supply. This one is slightly longer, and where we have cables, I have to finagle it a little bit to get it in there. There we go. A little bit of finagling. Doesn't like a little finagle. For hard drives, side panel screen and RGB cable sheaths. Glad I missed that comment. You talk about for cables and things still? Or is that what that was from? Sorry. For hard drives, side panel screen and RGB cable sheath. Yeah. I may have already forgotten what I said, so you were probably saying something to me in regards to something I said, and then it's been so many seconds since I said it, now I can't even remember that. Where I was going with it. So you'll have to remind me or jog my memory. I know I was complaining about cables. How many was in Judge's build? That's because the man has horsehair problem. Horsehair addict. It's okay though. It's okay to be a horsehair addict, I guess. These I'm going to send over that way. This one I'm going to run upstairs here. Oh. There you are. Get out of my way, sir. Stop yanking my chain. Rude. All right. Here we are. This hub is unfortunately just going to have to do what it's kind of doing here. We're very limited on its cable length. We got a cable down here, we got a cable up here, we got a cable here. It's got to meet, it has to meet in the center pretty much. There's no way around it. So it's just going to do what it's going to do currently. This one, these ones I'm going to send up here as well. Get rid of some of this length. Then go to these 4 connections here. And I'm very careful about plugging these in because I want to make sure that they stay clean, flush. These These ones you don't want to mess around with loose connect. You don't want loose connections on anything, but very particular about these ones. These ones like to melt if they get too hot, if they have poor connection. Well, they like to melt because they get too hot, because of the poor connection, because of the arcing that it creates. So you don't want that. Very important to keep them fully connected. We have these little clips on them. There we go. Now I'm just gonna try to get the way I want it. Tab best I can. Then guy run that way, and this guy needs to run this way. All right, and then 2 more SATA connections here for the hub and the LED strip or RGB strip on the front of the case. This one I usually just tuck in here. Doesn't really have to go anywhere. And I've got a weird feeling that I'm going to be taking this panel off and fixing a cable anyway. That's usually how it works out. Well, the Velcro strips did pretty good, so I didn't have as many zip ties. You appreciate the not melting. Don't we all? All right. Now that that's done, go ahead and grab this bad boy. This is our back panel. Oh, she's getting heavy. Oh, oh. Get real heavy. All right, so I'm going to actually clean this up, and then we're going to put the front panels on and fire it up. I'm going to clean some of the stuff up so it's out of my way. I just don't want it to be in here in the way when we go to fire it up, so it's all out of the way. Done. Oh yeah, I guess we have... Oh, sweet. How smart. I put the screws back in the case so I wouldn't lose them. Woof. All right. Let's see those panels on here. I'm actually going to swap out to a different view for you here. Oh man, getting to the finish line. Yeah, we get to see if I built it and if it works. If I built it right and if it works right, you know? Checking to make sure all the cables stayed put. For the most part, they did. One's giving us a little bit of a fight because of where they ended up back there. Like I said, this one doesn't like the twist. Alright, go to the front panel. So this glass front panel right here, I know we can't really see anything on it yet. I'm going to peel the plastic peels that we have here. Not sure if you can see the etching on the glass panel or not. And then the side panel. It's going to be a lot more noticeable once the light's on the back of it. And I'll have to wipe this glass down because there's a little bit of stuff or residue left over from the etching. But I mean, for the most part, it's clean, but I noticed a couple pieces. Some dust. All right. Now all we got to do is plug it in. Let me just lean into the camera here so you can stare at my arm. Nice view of my arm. Maybe a little bit of my neck. All right, let's let it refocus, maybe. Hello, refocus. I don't know why it's not. It might be because of the glass. I think it's the glass. We're gonna go ahead and fire it up and see if it refocuses because of the light. Here we go. Come on, camera. Solve your problems. Focus on my hand, thank you. Maybe a little too high. What do you think so far? Wicked. Yeah, it actually looks really badass, the etching. That back panel isn't too bad. I mean, you could, if you're looking on the side, it's noticeable, but I think we should still cut it and just bring it down a little bit. I would rather see the top than the bottom. Or I could flip it upside down. That's another option. But then it would be upside down. Definitely a little RGB. I told you, you're going to have an RGB tan. But if you're trying to save money from the, from going to the tan booth and tanning, no worries. You got your tan booth right here. Just probably not the right type of tan. An RGB tan. This is a Celsius that I drink. This is not a White Claw. A lot of people tell me I'm drinking White Claws. Let me see if I can give it a little rotate so you can see maybe the front of the glass there a little bit. This is really hard with the positioning. I'm hoping to have a new camera set up here soon. I have the new camera. I just need one more piece for it to mount it. And then I should have a better view further away so that we can see it better. Awesome and cute. Yeah, that back plate panel would look awesome. Cut a little. Yeah, so I'll cut it. I'll cut it. I'll take a little bit off and then see where it's at, or I'll measure it up the distance that we need to move down. And if you want me to, I could just reorder a new one. If that, if you want to keep the full size, and I could just reorder one. It's just going to take 2 weeks to get here. And then I could put it together, and either you could bring the PC to me and then we could just slap it in there, or I can figure something out. So, we drink a lot of Celsiuses. Yes. Thank you. There's not very many people, I don't know why this drink isn't more popular. It's like crack it's like cocaine in a can. Just without the drug effects. But it's the only way I could work, from 7 a.m. until, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, every day. Celsius is the only reason why I'm still doing it. Keeps me going. And actually, normally I don't drink them this late because it will keep me up way too late. I already know this, but I needed that extra boost. Today I was kind of falling behind. I was getting a little sleepy. The last thing you want to do is jump on stream and talk with a bunch of people and sound tired. Even though I probably do sound tired anyway. Can't really hide it too much. But yeah, it turned out pretty badass. I like it. I gotta clean up the glass. We'll cut that back panel and shorten it. I also have something funky going on here with this RGB fan. You may not notice it, but I do. This fan actually probably is bad. This very front fan. Right on the front, on the bottom. That fan probably needs to be replaced, because that's probably a dud. The rest of them seem okay. These two are actually not lit up on top, so I gotta figure that out. These two are probably a connection problem, because I finagled that cooler so much, something probably came loose up there. So that's probably just connection. This one for sure is dud, because there's no reason why it shouldn't be connected. So just got to replace the fan, make a cut to that back panel, clean up the glass, fix the fans on the top that aren't right, and yeah, do the Windows installation. This is awesome, PC. It turned out badass. Glad to be part of the Empower fam. Yeah, that one is out of sync. Yes. A little bit. It's actually not out of sync. It's just stuck on green. So I've got more. I've actually got more of these fans in stock here, so I could just swap it out. So there's no delay on that. I'll just take care of it afterwards. But I don't see anything else. Everything else looks perfect. Outside of those minor changes that we have to make. Everything else looks beautiful. So I'll get that cleaned up, and then we just got to do, like I said, the software installation, Windows. By the way, we're posted. And then we got to do driver installation, BIOS update, and then all the Windows updates. Do a little bit of configuration, make sure our Intel XMP profile is set, and play with the fan curves. And then we benchmark it, which is our battle tested phase. We go through and kind of work it hard, make sure it's performing where it should be and cooling where it should be. And then after all that, we'd be good to go. So within the next couple days, I would say. Yeah. Should have it ready for pickup in the next couple days. Well, awesome. I'm gonna probably let it go from here tonight, but I will take care of all those things that I've listed off. I wondered if it posted. Yeah, normally if I don't say anything, it posted. But new PC or new CPU is installed is what it's complaining about, because it's brand new CPU on the motherboard, and it's telling us to go through the configuration. One day soon here, I will also have my capture card installed, and I will be actually displaying that on the stream. You can see it probably in that screen up there instead of the over the top right here. It'll be the screen itself, so you can see if it posts. So I'll have that eventually here. Just a matter of time before I get to, and really, my stream PC needs an upgrade before I can even install it. So I'm out of PCIe slots, which is part of the problem. I'm out of USB channels and out of PCIe slots, so I need to upgrade my stream PC in order to do more on the stream, which is kind of my holdup, because I really don't want to deal with redoing that entire PC. It's a lot of work. So I'm actually considering just building a new one. Anyway. Alright guys, I'm super happy that you are happy with this build, and I'll get through the rest of this stuff, and you'll hear from me for pickup in the next couple days. Hell yeah, thank you so much, Ben. No problem, man. Awesome, sounds like a plan. Probably after Easter. I should have it ready before Easter. So, and so I'm thinking I'll have it ready Friday, Saturday. Somewhere, one of those days, one of those 2 days. So usually about a 1 to 2 day turnaround, depending on how much extra stuff I have to do. This isn't a lot, so always room to upgrade for sure. All right, man. Thanks everybody for tuning in and hanging out with us. Y'all have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Which we do have more builds to do here coming up, so probably next week is going to be our next stream with the holiday weekend. So tune in, monitor our Twitter, or just hit the bells and the likes and all the whistles things on our channels, and you'll know when we go live. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good night.